So an architect asked me the other day, how does a deal get funded in commercial real estate? And that's a big question. So I'm going to try to break it down into two sections, and this will be very high level. But the deal gets funded from several different sources of financing. There's always a developer, right? And they're the general partner. Then there's sometimes and usually a limited partner. Those two pieces make up the equity contribution. That's like the down payment if you were buying a house, right? That's the cash contributed to make the deal work. Then there's also going to be some debt on top of that. So the total financing has to either come from equity, which is cash, or debt, which is a loan. The debt can come from all sorts of sources, but that's what's called leverage, right? So the percentage of the total cost that is debt is leverage. We can talk about that later. And then the equity stack, the cash, is made up of a general partner, which is usually the minority, and then a limited partner who provides more of the cash. The difference between a general partner and a limited partner is the general partner, usually the developer, is in charge of the daily management of the development. The limited partner is not. Their responsibilities are limited, and because their responsibilities are limited, their financial incentives are also more limited. They get less of the upside if the deal goes well. They also carry less of the risk. The general partner gets the biggest chunk of the upside if the deal goes well, but carries the most risk. And then the debt, the lender, has the least amount of risk in the deal and also gets the least financial return. So that is kind of what makes up the funding stack. I think though what the architect was really asking about is how can a consultant or a designer have an impact on a deal, right? So how does the financial alignment between the design team and the developer makes sense, and what can they do to make a deal work or not work? And there are kind of three levers that anybody on the team can pull to make a deal better or worse. And I think those three levers are time, cost, and then net operating income, which is revenue minus expenses. I got that backwards. So operating revenue of the asset minus expenses is your net operating income. And so if you're a designer and you're trying to advocate for a larger investment, right, more of a certain type of material, let's say glass. Glass is more expensive. If you want to add glass in the project, it's best to think about how you can make that financially feasible from the project standpoint. And the best way to do that, and really the only way, is to either decrease the total time that the development's going to take or increase the net operating income. So if you can do some combination of those two that allows for a better project, then spending more money isn't a huge problem. Same thing is if you are increasing the operating expense, you need to either also make sure you're increasing the revenue to compensate for that, or on the development side, decreasing the time it takes for the development to get complete, or decreasing the overall cost of the development. So those are the three levers that you can pull as a designer that impact the development. And again, the capital stack of the development, how the whole thing gets financed, is going to be some combination of equity, which is cash, and debt, which is the leverage, and that's a loan. And in the equity stack, there's usually going to be a general partner who's the developer and a limited partner who sometimes or often brings more of the equity to the table, but has lower returns because they have less responsibility and less risk. And again, like most things in life, more risk equals more reward. And so the person taking the most risk, which is usually the GP, the general partner, or the developer, usually has the best financial returns.